At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hello and welcome everyone to That's Absurd, Please Elaborate, a show where we answer your silly questions that you send us with at least a little bit of research that we are pretty good at doing. I am Trace, the science communicator. It's 2026, Julian. You look shocked, but I think that was a pretty good intro.
That's why I'm shocked.
I'm here with Julian Huguet, another science communicator. Between the two of us, I think we're not going to mess this up this time.
We did it. Mark it. 113 episodes, and we have a good, concise, clean intro.
It took a minute.
It's been done. It's
2026.
We've been promising for years that we would get the hang of an intro at some point, and it happened just now, and I got to witness it with my own ears.
His mouth was wide open.
I was agog. Incredible. Well done. Good intro.
Thank you. I was really proud of it. It just happened, came out just like that. It's probably going to get messed up later.
New year, new us. Yeah, we'll screw it up in the edit.
For sure. It's definitely going to be worse.
We'll throw in some ADR where we do worse because we can't have our streak broken.
If this is the first time listening to the show, we answer those questions that people send us. So if you want to send us a question, you can go down into the comments, and there's all sorts of different ways to send us a question. If you would like to help vote on questions that we answer here on the podcast, you can join our Patreon. The patrons get to vote. You could get your question on the show because, it's the power of the crowd. See, I messed up the intro right now. I'm just like
No, that's great. No, you did it. We're past intro. This is Act 1, so it's fine.
Shopkeeping. What's it called?
Yeah, housekeeping. Yeah, if you click the skip intro button, if our podcast had one, you'd be in the meat of it now, and now disappointed. So it's fine.
Great.
It's fine. We didn't promise we'd get the hang of that.
No, we didn't. So, Julian, what question are you going to answer this week?
My question was picked by the patrons over on Patreon.
Would you look at that?
As a matter of fact.
Wow, foreshadowing.
Yeah. Seamless. They selected a question submitted by Nick, who asked, at what distance race would a tortoise actually be likely to beat a hare?
Ooh. Oh. You know what that makes me think of? My dad grew up in the 1960s, and so in the 50s and 60s, and my grandma really liked fast cars. And so my grandma, his mom, had a Camaro. And so he took... cool. And he grew up in Detroit, so he just took the Camaro racing instead and didn't tell her. But he said it was great because they would have all these different, picture American graffiti style. It's the 1950s and 60s. You've got like fast cars that teenagers have access to for some reason, and they all go to a track somewhere in Detroit. And he said the cool thing was there are a lot of muscle cars, a lot of really cool, amazing stock cars, but they also had like different track lengths, right? You're racing a mile, you're racing a half mile, you're racing a quarter mile. And he said on a quarter mile, the Volkswagen Beetle every time, because it's so much torque that they're just like, like,
yes,
which I always just think is so great.
It's true. Well, so this is a great example of how in like engineering, everything's a compromise. Yeah. If you are modifying a car, you can have a choice between acceleration versus top end speed. And if you have like a gear ratio that gives you a lot of torque, down low early on, because, you have a lot more teeth on like the bigger gear and the engine has to spin a lot more mechanical advantage, then you'll accelerate quicker, you'll get off the line faster, and if it's a short enough race, you're more likely to win, but then you'll run out of puff at a higher speed, and exactly, it's something with more power at the top end, and the ability to, stretch that out will beat you. So it's funny that the Volkswagen Beetles were embarrassing, like, American muscle cars.
Yeah, I mean, only on the quarter mile. Anything over that, apparently, the muscle car would just catch up and crush it. But it was very funny to watch. He said it stood out to him.
I would get a kick out of that. I would be the kind who modified like a Volkswagen Beetle or like a Mini Cooper, like an old 1960s Mini Italian job style.
Wow, yeah.
In the 60s, there was like British stock car racing in the UK, and the classic battle was like the Ford Mustang versus the British Leyland Mini, because the Mini was quicker through corners, could handle better, and then the Mustang would overtake it on a long straightaway. So you got the same battle set up over and over again. So,
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Fun. So this is kind of like the Mini Cooper versus the Ford Mustang of the animal world, except if the Ford Mustang just had like one gear and just stayed in like first gear the whole race. And that is, of course, the tortoise and the hare.
So wait, are you saying that the tortoise is the Mustang?
Yeah, the heavier, slow one. Again, a Mustang that is broken because of, American car reliability.
Yeah,
and
of course.
It won't shift.
Well, growing up in Michigan, Ford is an acronym. You know the acronym.
Fix or repair daily.
Yeah, of course.
Or backwards, driver returns on foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, that's what Ford stands for. Anyway.
Sponsor our podcast. Maybe we'll change your mind.
Sponsor our podcast, Ford. Anyway, we love your electric vehicles if you continue to make them, actually.
We sure do.
It would be nice if you kept making the Lightning. I thought that was a cool concept. But anyway, so Tortoise and the Hare, though, is a classic Aesop fable, right? Do you remember the fable?
Yeah, of course I remember the Tortoise and the Hare. Do you want me to relate the whole fable?
Not?
Or
Sure.
Okay, so the Tortoise and the Hare.
People from all over the world listening. It may not be a cross-cultural fable. I don't know.
Sure. I'll just do it in the concise version, which is not our forte here on this podcast. But the concise version essentially is the hare is like bragging about being so fast, and the tortoise is like, well, I'll race you. And the hare is like, oh, I'm so fast, you'll never win. And it's like a fable about how it's, braggadocious and all of this. And the tortoise is just like, okay, we're going to race. And they say, go. And the hare just sprints off. And this is all from memory. I haven't read it in a long time. And the tortoise just starts walking toward the finish line. And then the hare, I think it must have ADHD or something, and sort of gets distracted, goes off on another adventure, maybe takes a nap, and eventually it's just like, the tortoise isn't going to win. Look how far away the tortoise is. I've got time. And eventually the tortoise gets close to the finish line, and the hare comes out of their riding bikes phase, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't hyper focus on this thing that I was really into anymore. I have to go, put down my knitting and finish the race, and the tortoise wins. And it's the fable is like, don't be full of yourself. You could lose a race even if you think you're going to win it, because slow and steady wins the race.
Right. Persistence, patience, a steady pace is better than like a quick sprint and then, a lull, or being arrogant. There's a lot of takeaways. A lot of
layers.
Yeah.
Like an onion.
Different fairy tale we're getting at here. But yes, it's...
Yeah. I'm just foreshadowing again.
So this is one of Aesop's fables, and it's quite well known. It shows up everywhere. And of course, there are YouTube videos of people racing tortoises versus rabbits or hares or whatever. And I have sent you one. Oh. And I want you to do your best Kentucky Derby horse race commentary.
Okay, let me get ready. I don't have a mint julep in front of me. I don't have a hat.
Yeah, you do need to don a big hat in order to watch a race like this.
All right, here we go. Oh, the hare is off, and he's coming around the corner, and this race is really short. The hare is halfway there, and it stops, and the tortoise is going right now. He's going really strong and steady, slow and steady. The hare has stopped in the middle of the race course here. There's screaming. People are excited. This is, wow, the tortoise is still going here. It's not, and the hare is still not moving. The ADHD is real. Oh my gosh, here comes the hare picking it up, but now it seems to be distracted by the wall. The tortoise is over the line!
Yep. So that was a 30-second long race that looks like it's about 2 meters in length from what I can tell.
Wow.
And just as Aesop predicts, the tortoise actually wins this race.
The tortoise just kept on moving. Now, see, okay, if you're going to give me an assignment, I'm going to give you assignment. This is after the football game. There's a very short person who's giving you an interview about the performance. You are the tortoise. So, how were you out there on the field today? How'd you feel about it?
We gave it 110%. It's really important to stay focused and to believe in yourself. And to just keep focused on your goal.
Thanks for talking to me.
I'd like to thank my mother and my father.
We're cut.
And, of course, the tortoise god Atuwi, whose back we all live on a flat spinning disc. Praise Atuwi.
Under. I guess it'd be over his eye.
Over his eye. Over his shell.
Over his shell. Wow, that was a lot. It was good.
Thank you. I was pretty pleased with that.
That was pretty good.
So, there are videos of like many, many more than that of people racing tortoises and hares, or I shouldn't say hares actually, because that wasn't a hare.
Yeah, it was a rabbit.
That was a rabbit, and they're different, and we'll get into it. But this is a common thing, that shows up all over the internet because people want to know. And like I said, that race looked like it was about 2 meters long, and really
it wasn't very long.
The rabbit stopped after a meter. So Nick, possibly you might even say a meter, right? If it plays out like that, that seems kind of like 50-50. I see that pattern repeated a lot in a lot of these videos. But I think we're really looking to stack the odds in the tortoise's favor, right? And let's be real, like the rabbit doesn't really know it's in a race. It's not running like it's in a race. And
yeah, definitely not.
You wouldn't really want to race a rabbit either.
Why?
Well, we mentioned rabbits and hares are different. And one of the primary ways that they are different is how they avoid predators. Rabbits and hares, they're both lagomorphs, along with pikas, which are the little... You ever seen a pika?
Oh.
It's another cute little... They're not rodents. Rabbits and hares aren't rodents.
Like
they
a
used
chinchilla?
To be considered that. It's its own thing. Out here, let me see. Do you want to Google a photo and talk about it? Yeah. You can look one up.
A pika, like pica? Like pika?
It's also pronounced pica. I've heard it both ways.
Okay. Pica is an eating disorder that involves eating things that aren't nutritious.
Yeah, usually you've usually seen it in people who are pregnant, right? But that's not it. This is a cute little...
Oh my god, that's so cute! It was like if a cotton ball was a little toasted and then you gave it ears.
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. So you know how when I learned this animal existed, it was a light bulb moment for me because there's a lot of like Pokemon that clearly have like animal names. And I was like, what's up with Pikachu? Where's that come from? And there you go. The Pika's like a little mouse-looking thing, although it's not a mouse.
It's a small mountain-dwelling mammal native to Asia and North America.
And Pika in Japanese also means like flash, or pika pika means to like sparkle. And then chu is the onomatopoeia for like the mouse squeak in Japan.
Oh.
So there you go.
This all makes sense.
Pokemon facts for you. Anyway, so rabbits, hares, they're both lagomorphs, but hares are usually bigger, they have longer ears, and they live in wide open prairies typically, where there aren't places to burrow and hide from predators like rabbits would do. So hares have to survive with speed. That is the primary difference. Rabbits aren't really runners, but hares are, and they are super fast. Depends on the species. There's many different, and they can range from like 30 to 50 miles an hour top speed, or about 80 kilometers at the fastest.
Ooh, that's fast.
They are quite fast, and they're really agile. That's another advantage they have over predators that might be trying to chase them, so they can turn on a dime. And they have good stamina. They can keep it up for a long time, several minutes, right?
Oh.
And then
that's more than like a cheetah that's very fast, but can really only, I can't remember the exact time, but it's like a minute or like a minute and a half or something. It's not very long.
Exactly.
They can maintain top speed.
Right. So the fact that hares can just keep going for longer than the things chasing them is usually how they stay alive. So tortoises, basically as opposite as you can get as far as an animal's survival strategy and how it impacts their top speed, right? They're heavy, they're slow, and instead of being quick to evade predators, they rely on their big, tough shells, which are, by the way, a modified rib cage.
Yeah, they can't come out of their shell. It's 2026. Surprised I have to say this, but they don't come out of their shells. They can't, it is their backbone.
Oh, I thought you were making a joke about like how tortoises are shy and we're all like rooting for them to eventually.
No, I just mean like people, they get one and they're like, try to poke into it like it lives inside of it, like it's like a mollusk. And it's like, no, that's its body.
That's its rib cage that it's inside. You can't imagine if you could just remove it. No, you can't. No, you're not taking your rib cage off.
Do I take my boxing gloves off and my mask when I go to bed? Like, no, they don't take their shell off when they go to bed. The millennials, the elder millennials will get exactly what just happened.
Yes, perfect. So the strong bad references will never die here.
No way, they would never die.
So yeah, because they're more protected from predators, and they also burrow, but their actual body keeps them safe. They don't need to be fast, so they're quite slow. And it turns out the Guinness Book of World Records has an official world record for the fastest tortoise.
Oh, no way it does.
Yes.
I'm sending
you the
very
link.
Scholarly
Guinness
Book of World Records.
Guinness Book of World Records.
So, oh my God, the picture. Birdie. Okay, Birdie. Wow. Who? Birdie. Where? United Kingdom. What? 0.28 meters per second.
Yep.
The greatest speed achieved by a tortoise is 2.8. No, sorry, is 0.28 meters.
A factor of 10 too high.
Yeah, sorry. 0.92 feet per second, and was achieved by Birdie at Adventure Valley, Braeside, UK on 9th of July, 2014. Birdie ran the speed over 5.48 meter course and set at a gradient of 1 to 12.
Had to make it hard.
In a time of 19.59 seconds.
And of course, in their photo, they have a hare in the background.
Well, yeah, a little bunny.
Had to rub it in the mammal's face. So 0.28 meters per second, I don't think that means anything to people listening. So that translates to 0.62 miles an hour, or almost exactly 1 kilometer per hour.
Oh,
so Birdie,
almost exactly one.
The fastest tortoise recorded by a beer company that makes a book of records,
right,
is 80 times slower than the fastest hare.
Wow, that is a lot slower.
That's a big difference.
That's a big difference.
So
that's a big ADHD problem for that hare in that Aesop's fable.
Massive executive dysfunction. I relate to the hare so much. Okay, so then it becomes a question of persistence, endurance, recovery, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I started digging into to see if there's data on like how far hares typically travel in like a day, to kind of get an idea of what their stamina is like, that sort of thing. And fortunately for tortoises, lagomorphs, they're known as homebodies. They typically don't travel very far, or at least that's what we thought. Until 2018, a study of Arctic hares had one hare in particular that surprised researchers. This hare's name...
Like it was a white hare that they didn't expect to be there because they're only 27. It just shouldn't have appeared when it...
If you could put this existential crisis to the side for a minute, I'm talking about cute, fluffy bunny rabbits and hares and stuff, okay? We'll get to us all inevitably aging soon. Okay, the Arctic hare BBYY was tagged with a tracker. BBYY, by the way, is the colors of the little tags that they put in its ears. Blue, blue, yellow, yellow. That's how they differentiated between the hares in the study. BBYY covered 240 miles in 7 weeks, which was much, much farther than they thought. Researchers before this thought that lagomorphs never traveled farther than like 22 miles from where they were born, anywhere between 1 and 31 kilometers, basically, according to the study. So they were pretty shocked by this, but if you do the math on how far it covers in a day, that's about 4.89 miles in a day, or close to 5 miles in a day.
So 240 miles total?
In 7 weeks, in 49 days.
So like, just to convert for our Europeans, that's 386 kilometers.
Right.
Over 7 days. That's
so
a lot.
This was a surprise because, they thought Arctic hares don't travel very far, but this one shows, hey, maybe they actually go farther foraging for food or something than we thought. Ooh. And they're tracking these animals to see, how the Arctic is changing, how their behaviors are changing, that sort of thing. Right. So Arctic hares, though, they don't live very long, unfortunately. After about a year, BBYY's tracker stopped moving and indicated a consistently cold temperature, so BBYY probably passed. Arctic hares, they only live about 18 months. And that's in captivity, right, where they don't have wolves chasing them. But there's differences in activity, and it's the same for tortoises, right, depending on the season. And certain times of the year, they might be more active. Hares are known to be a lot more, zoomies out in March during mating season when, like, the males will run around and, like, box other male hares and stuff to try and kind of establish dominance and find a mate, that sort of thing. But let's just assume that BBYY could keep up this pace over the entire, 18-month lifespan. How far would it travel in that time? About 2,600 miles, which is a little less than the distance between me in Los Angeles and you in New York right now.
Wow. So you could just, let go of a hare and have it bring me something. A little note that says, I heart you.
So, can a tortoise do this? Well, Trace, tortoises are kind of famously long-lived.
They are.
Right?
They live a long time.
They can live 60 to 80 years, depending on the species, maybe even over 100 if it's like a Galapagos tortoise. And a Galapagos tortoise, let's say it lives 100 years, and it's, their top speed is maybe about birdies. Let's say it averages half of birdies, right? Like
half a kilometer.
1.4 meters per second, right?
Right.
And again, we don't know how active they are. I found some studies on tortoise activity. They're kind of active foraging out in the desert during the cooler hours of the day, but then when it's hot, they burrow and avoid the heat, or they get under cars, say. So if you're in like a national park that has tortoises like Joshua Tree, you should check under your car in case there's a tortoise under there. That sort of thing. Some research I also found from National Park Services being like, be careful with tortoises, y'all, because they were tracking their movements. So let's say they only move, 7 hours out of the day, and the other 16, they're either resting or burrowing or something like that. Averaging that speed, going about 7 hours a day, it would travel more than the circumference of the Earth.
What? No.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. In just 30 years.
Wait, and they live to be like 100.
Yeah.
So 30, so they could go around the Earth three times.
They could go around the Earth
three
like
times.
3.5 times at that pace.
That's... Wow, Aesop nailed it.
Yep. Persistence
tortoise
is key.
Take that, hare. You got nothing.
Unbelievable. Just left in the dust.
Well, I don't think they would kick up dust.
No.
Just left in the...
Gently moved aside dirt pile. Obviously, terrain and land permitting, right?
Sure.
But the total distance it covers would be more than the circumference of the entire planet.
I mean, look, when people are like, they swam across the whatever, there's a boat right next to them. So maybe in this case, there's just a floating platform and someone picks it up and puts a new one down, and they're just like alongside them with boats, to make sure that the tortoise can finish their race.
Right? Like it's got to... They only row
support.
as far as the tortoise walks forward in the boat or something. And
exactly. Yeah, and then they put a new platform in front of it. Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know why somebody would do this, but people are crazy, man. The Guinness Book of World Records has a lot of weird stuff in there.
There's a lot of weird stuff. Maybe they'll do it. Somebody do it.
So please,
please. Invite me. I'll video it. I'll video the whole thing.
Going?
It'll be riveting.
Going to sail across the ocean with a tortoise. To prove a point.
We could get that guy who sailed to Hawaii with his cat.
Yeah.
He could do it.
Phoenix?
Yeah.
That's the guy.
What's his name?
Yeah, I think so. I think his Instagram is Sailing with Phoenix. The guy who quit his management job at a big box store and was like, I've never sailed before. I'm just going to Hawaii.
He was amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
It was an amazing story.
Inspiring. Anyway, let's see if he has room on the boat for a tortoise. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and if he can
He's got a cat already.
Diligent notes about how far the tortoise has walked on the catamaran or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, so Nick, to answer your question, a tortoise could beat a hare over a relatively short distance if the ADHD does take over and Aesop's fable is accurate. But if you wanted to guarantee it, if you're like on those sports betting apps that are somehow legal everywhere now, or even the things that aren't technically a sports betting app, but basically a sports betting app.
Yeah, it's a betting app.
It's a betting app. Oh, gamble on the future of who's going to win this game. That's betting.
That is literally what gambling is.
Sports betting with extra steps. Anyway, if you wanted to guarantee a payout on that, the distance of the race should probably total over 2,600 miles, or approximately the distance between Los Angeles and New York.
Only because the hare couldn't live longer than
only
that?
because the hare will die before it can reach
dark.
the
That got
finish
dark.
line. Sorry, Aesop's fables and fables in general are sometimes kind of dark. That's just how
True.
it is.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Yeah, gotta get used to it.
Wow.
There you go.
I just want to thank my family. And I'm really sad my competitor's lifespan was so short. I'm just #blessed.
So you're telling me that tortoises not only are they long-lived, but they're only using memes from 2017.
They're very slow. They're behind the times.
That's great. Well, let's take a quick break and come back with another question.
All right, Trace, not that it's a race, but I finished first. So now it is your turn. What's your question this week?
My question this week comes from a listener who I will let say their own name because they sent us some audio.
Hello, Trace and Julian. I really love the show. My name is Ori, Bynzyldyhydeditoximonothaixyprophine on Patreon. I live in Berkeley, California. And my question today was, what is the half-life of an onion? I came up with this probably a year or two ago when I was cutting an onion in half. I do a lot of cooking. I interact with a lot of fruits and vegetables. And I know famously they contain radioactive materials, like especially bananas contain like potassium-40. And my question is, I'm cutting this onion in half. And I'm like, what is the half-life of an onion? If it's perfectly preserved, at what point will it be fully radioactively decayed? And can it fully radioactively decay into, not onion? Or is it going to just be an onion still? I think this also goes to a deeper question of mine is, can an atom that is non-radioactive on the periodic table decay into something else? Like if I have some, lithium, can it decay into helium or hydrogen? And I've been wondering this for a while. Thank you so much for answering my question. I love the show. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Bynzyldyhydeditoximonothaixyprophine.
Ori. Thank
Benzyl.
you for the question.
We'll just call you Ben.
Sure.
Ben. Thanks, Ben. Firstly, I was excited to answer this question, not just because of the name of the person asking it. Okay, look, it's a great username, Bynzyldyhydeditoximonothaixyprophine, but I was just excited because Game of the Year, Half-Life 1998, I was working at CompUSA in Frandor Shopping Center, Lansing, Michigan. It was a big formative time of my life, so I was really excited to look into the Half-Life and how if you took Gordon's crowbar, you could hit an onion, and it would just, that was how it would
Did they have onion
go.
physics in Half-Life? I mean, I know the game was famous for having a physics engine.
It did not have onion physics.
It did not have onion.
I do wish. I mean, it was a better time, but it did not have a physics engine. A triple cheeseburger from Wendy's was $6.66. I remember that off the top of my head. And it was great. RAM was cheap.
That, I mean, you could be describing 4 months ago.
Yeah, true.
Also known as the time right before I decided to upgrade my RAM.
Good job, bud. Good job.
I'm very mad about that. Anyway.
Onions are great. They are a very interesting vegetable. Let's talk a little bit about onions before we get into their half-life, because Ori mentioned like bananas. They have definitely potassium in them that is radioactive. You can put a Geiger counter in front of a banana and it'll be like... which is really just measuring every time something spits out a little bit of a radioactive particle. That's all the Geiger counter is doing, which is why when they, after Fukushima, a bunch of people in the Pacific Northwest who were like conspiracy theorists went to the shore and were like, look at the radiation. And it's like background radiation, depending on how you have your Geiger counter set. It's going to do that if you point it at the sky, if you point it at the ocean. There's radiation everywhere all the time.
As science communicators, this is one of those like forever issues that just doesn't go away. And that is, there is a such level as like safe exposure to radiation, you know?
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how judicious, especially in the States, like we are about making sure that people are not exposed to like lifetime dosages that are going to significantly increase like the risk of cancer in any real meaningful way, anything like that. A lot of people just have this mindset of like radiation bad. Any radiation, any nuclear radiation bad. And they'll conflate it with like electromagnetic radiation, right? And
they will. Yeah. It's why people think that Wi-Fi causes cancer when, I mean, if it did, we would know 100% since cell phones have existed now for more than 2 decades, and people have been carrying them in their pockets at 900 megahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, and now 5 and 6 gigahertz, and for years. And so you would have tumors specifically on your right thigh if you carry it in your right pocket, if it were a cancer-causing ionization, but it's not.
The thing I always get into is like, the radiation from your microwave that people are scared of. Ooh, microwaves or radio waves, or that your radios and your cell phones are on. That has less energy than visible light.
Yeah.
It's unable to damage your cells by ionizing the atoms in your cells, because it's just how the physics works. It can't excite the electrons enough to get them to break free of the atoms. And so, if that was damaging, visible light would also be damaging.
Right. Or if that were damaging, if Wi-Fi were damaging, then the local radio station would have killed everyone around it, because they're just broadcasting huge amounts of power in the radio band.
You'd see it. You'd see the data on like a map of like the people living around the radio station, like the rates of cancer and disease and stuff, like from.
But we don't see that
radiation. No, we don't,
because those radio waves are fine. It's the same with a banana. It's the same with like the famous dishware, the red Fiestaware, because of how we make the red coloring.
It's glazed, right? Yeah.
It's a glaze, and so that ends up like pinging a Geiger counter. A lot of things create radiation. Pilots are exposed to more radiation in their lifetime than people who don't fly airplanes. Astronauts are exposed to more radiation than people who don't go to space, and that's because there's less of a radioactive protection layer around them. They do their best, we do our best, and we try and protect them from actual radiation that could hurt someone, to Julian's point. But in terms of the radiation coming out of food, it's not really that much. So onions, from what I can tell, they have some things, like there's, of course, is potassium in an onion and carbon-14 in an onion, both of which have radioactive decay. But onions they don't really have other things in them that would decay in the way that you think when you think radioactive decay. Now, for those that may not know what radioactive decay is, Julian, you want to explain it?
Sure. There are 3 types of radioactive decay. There's alpha decay, beta decay.
Pull it down and
decay,
point it.
Right? So what's happening when an element decays radioactively is it's undergoing a process that literally changes the actual element that it is. Yeah. Right? So alpha decay, it emits an alpha particle, and that is 2 protons, 2 neutrons. It's basically a helium nucleus. And that, by the way, is where we get our helium-4. We've talked about this on the podcast before, but because helium is a noble gas that doesn't interact with anything and it's lighter than air, you'd think, maybe it would just blow off into space and be gone. But when things like uranium decay via alpha decay, they're giving off what is essentially helium. And so we actually get our helium from uranium mines, which is kind of crazy.
Cool.
There is beta decay, where a proton or a neutron, so a proton would give off a positron, which is a positively charged counterpart to an electron, and it would turn into a neutron, or a neutron will give off a electron and turn into a proton. That'll change the nature of the element. So you'll see, though, if you follow a decay chain of an element, you'll see it'll often go in this pattern of giving off an alpha particle. So because it gives off 2 protons, it'll drop 2 spaces on the periodic table, but then it'll go through beta decay and a neutron will turn into a proton. And so it'll move up a space, and then it'll move down 2 and up 1 again. And, it'll mix. It's not always 1-to-1 or something like that. But uranium will go through this until it eventually ends up being lead, which is stable.
Right. And that's the key. The half-life only exists really because, and a half-life, by the way, as a definition, is the amount of time it takes to go from, say, 100% of something to 50% of that. So to use the uranium as an example, after the half-life of uranium, you would have half uranium and half lead in an ideal scenario. And so bismuth-234 decays into polonium-234, and bismuth has a half-life of 19.9 minutes. So about every 20 minutes, there's half as much bismuth in that radioactive sample as there used to be. But it's not like it just disappears. It's giving off these bits of energy or matter because, according to the law of conservation of energy, you can't get rid of either one of those into nothingness. The interesting thing about half-lifing something that is a living thing that isn't just a bunch of radioactive uranium, for example, like that we could just math out and say like, oh, we have this, 1 kilogram of specifically uranium-235, which is an unstable uranium. It's 92 protons. It's 143 neutrons. It's got a weird number of neutrons. And so it is used for nuclear energy. It's the only naturally fissile element that we can get just out of the ground. We don't have to make it. So this is why, by the way, you need centrifuges to refine uranium. So you go get a uranium mine. Most of it is totally fine.
Yeah, most of it's U-238, and then we have to basically spin it real fast until the U-235 is separated from the 238. Yeah, and we repeat it many, many times.
So yeah, exactly. You have hundreds and hundreds. So that's why, for example, if you're an American and you hear a lot about the Iran nuclear deal that the first time around the current president decided to eliminate themselves from for some reason, it's really hundreds of centrifuges. Right. They always talk about how many centrifuges you have. And it's because you're taking the heavier 238 and spinning it away from the 235, gathering what's left, spinning it again, gathering what's left, spinning it again, gathering what's left. And you do that hundreds of times.
And for nuclear power, you need fuel that's about 5% uranium-235. But for something like a weapon, you'd need like 95% uranium-235. Right. So the extent of enrichment will determine what you can do with it.
Yeah, and that's why they're like, oh, do you have a nuclear program? Why do you have 700 centrifuges?
What level of enrichment is your uranium getting up to? Like, let us send in an inspector and check.
And we can see it.
Yeah.
You can just check. So anyway, so even that naturally unstable U-235, do you know its half-life? This is a naturally unstable, huge element that's giving off lots of things. It has to go from, 235 protons and neutrons down to what is lead, 96?
No, 235 is the atomic mass total. So but uranium's, what's the atomic number of uranium?
Uranium's 1 something.
I think it's 92.
92.
Yeah.
So I was close.
So 92 protons.
And you have to get down to lead, which is 82. So you have to lose like 10 of your protons to get there.
So that's several different like decay reactions, right? Because it goes through different elements along the way. The total time to go from uranium to lead?
Just like, its total half-life of that uranium is
like a sample of
do you
uranium?
remember?
Gosh, I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
It's not something that, the thing is, I think half-life gets a lot of celebrity status in the world of like pop sci, not just because there's a video game named after it, which I made a joke about, but because it's just a cool concept. It's a neat thing to think about, but it's not like chemists are out here memorizing half-lives.
Right.
It's just not really a thing. But it's 704 million years.
Wow.
So right now, if you had 1 kilogram of uranium-235, it would be half lead, or Pb-207, in 704 million years. And that is a radioactive isotope.
So another misconception with half-life too is this, we hear these really long times and we assume that's bad.
Yeah.
But it's actually the opposite.
It is the opposite.
The shorter the half-life of an element, the more dangerous it is because it's giving off a lot of radioactive particles in a short amount of time.
It disappears more quickly. Yeah. So if you have something that, if you think of it in like a macro status as like something that's very hot and is evaporating in front of your eyes, like it just disappears, maybe it sublimates even, that would be something that's like, it's changing so fast that it just goes from a solid to a gas. Yeah. Like a dry ice or something, right? Whereas like uranium, it's not actually changing that fast. It's changing fairly slow for something. Also, by the way, something that's highly radioactive, like that bismuth that I mentioned, with a 20-minute half-life, like that's pretty good. Like it's getting rid of itself pretty fast.
Yes, but that means it's giving off a lot of radioactive particles or energy, and that can be damaging to your cells, right? And if you have a high enough dose of that radioactivity, it can
Right.
actually cause you health issues. And so like a short half-life is scarier to me than a long half-life.
And I think that's logical. And just to say also what it's doing to you, because we've sort of danced around it, but like when that alpha particle hits a bit of your DNA, it can knock a bit off of it. Like it can just basically, like a little cannonball, it can knock something off of a bit of DNA that's important. And your DNA has self-repair mechanisms to be able to do that. But even over time, the self-repair mechanisms by themselves in a perfect scenario sometimes make mistakes. And so what we're talking about here is you're making a lot of holes. You're shooting a lot of cannonballs at your DNA.
Yeah.
And even though DNA is very small and it's extremely unlikely that something is going to actually hit it, it does happen just because there are so many of these little bits of radiation. So the idea is don't shoot as many cannonballs at your DNA and you won't have as many breaks that need to be fixed and might make mistakes and might have errors, and that's where we get cancer.
Right.
And so it's just like, avoid the cannonballs. It is very much that simple.
Minimize your exposure to cannonballs. If you take one thing away from this podcast,
that's it.
Avoid
That's what
getting
it is.
shot with too many cannonballs.
No cannonballs.
Whatever that
please.
number is for you is probably determined by like an official government agency. Literal cannonballs, I'm going to go with one.
One.
Try to
you don't
avoid
even want
getting hit
one.
by one
thank you.
cannonball.
So, Julian, we're talking mostly about isotopes. Onions, as a species, don't have a lot of radioactive isotopes in them, really. So, a stable atom of uranium-238, what do you think its half-life is versus the half-life of an
235.
unstable isotope U-235?
Oh, man.
If you had to guess, would you say it's more or less?
I
Let's
mean,
start
if
there.
235 is 704 million years, and that's
Right.
that's just from like 235 down like one step in the chain. I don't know. Is it in the order of like billions of years?
It is yes, it's 4.5 billion years.
Wow.
Like the age of the Earth. If you had 1 kilogram of uranium-238, the day Earth was formed
Right.
as a primordial ball of molten dust and metal and whatever else, today you'd have the half-life would be, you'd have half fled.
Just waiting
or
for these
whatever.
values to appreciate. I'm on the
Right.
playing the long game.
So let's talk a little bit about onions. Onions are great. It's a great food product. It's a staple food. We've had onions for about 5,000 years. It actually, interestingly, I didn't know this. Onions are prehistoric. They are a pre-farming and agriculture food staple for humankind.
No clue.
Yeah.
How different does the prehistoric onion look, though, is always my question.
It probably is smaller, is my
Yeah.
guess. Everything is like kind of smaller. I would say it's more, I
Smaller
bet you
and
it's more
less
shallot
tasty.
look. Yeah. Maybe more nutritious, but like not bred to be as yummy or something.
Yeah.
We've had onions for, we think, about 5,000 years. There's a debate about where they originate on the planet, because I think that's very interesting to find out where foodstuffs come from. You know, potatoes and tomatoes and chocolate and chili peppers are from the New World with corn and other things. But like, they think onions may have been from Central Asia. They also might have been grown first in Iran or West Pakistan, but they were found across ancient Egypt, India, the Roman Empire, first peoples in the Americas, early Europeans, even the Greeks, all had these onions that they would be eating. And they were found everywhere in the world. There's lots of different types of onions, but the default onion is the yellow onion. It's the most common. When you think of an onion, you're probably picturing a yellow onion, although maybe you picture a red onion or a white onion. Those are the other two most common onions. All three of these are called storage onions because they last a long time in storage. Not all onions do. You could just throw them in a barrel, put them on a ship, and take them with you, and the onion itself is probably fine to eat for a long period of time, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
So yellow onions are flavorful. They have a high sugar content. They're high in sulfur, and they're sweet and pungent because of different things, including that sulfur. And a regular yellow onion in a well-ventilated area by itself can last 1 to 3 months. So again, this is why they were popular to transport, because they last a long time. Like, think the ancient world. Not a lot of food is going to last 3 months from when you pick it. The National Onion Association says to store onions where air is circulating, not in the fridge, in the cellar, a cool, dry place, or even keep them on the counter. Don't store your onions with apples because the apples will absorb the flavor of the onion. You'll end up with an oniony apple. And don't store your onions with potatoes because potatoes give off moisture, which will spoil your onion more quickly. which I thought was kind of cool.
Trace, if there's one thing I've learned from this show, it is there is a national blank for every single type of crop.
Yes.
I swear.
There is, yes.
It's like a national
for anything,
pea and
anything.
legume council that I've heard of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's just...
And I'll find them. If
somebody's got to make a statement on the proper storage of any vegetable, Trace will find them.
I'll find it. I will find it. Okay, so inside of this onion, of course, there's normal stuff. Like vegetables are 90% water. For the most part. So this onion, probably 90% water. So that means inside of the onion is hydrogen and oxygen. Also within there, of course, because it's a plant, is nitrogen coming out of the soil, and then phosphorus also coming out of the soil, and then the sulfur that I mentioned earlier. And then several other smaller bits of things. You know, there's probably, I said there aren't, but there probably are things like uranium, thorium, carbon-14, potassium-40, these radionuclides that exist in our food. They're found naturally in the soil. They're everywhere. But the amount of it is so small that it's not really worth talking much about in terms of the question that Ben is asking, right? He's asking if we take this onion and we put it inside of a magic box so that funguses and bacteria and things don't decay it, how long will it be an onion? And I think a lot of people think about atomic decay as like radioactivity from those radionuclides, right? If there's potassium in my banana and it's giving off radiation, isn't it irradiating my banana? And the answer is no, it's not really. There's not enough of it. It's not happening at a rate that would damage it. There's not enough cannonballs, to use our strange thing from earlier. However, that doesn't mean that it's not decaying, right? The going theory is that atoms that are stable don't decay, or what the theory is essentially that protons, because that's really what it comes down to, don't decay. So a water molecule will just keep being a water molecule until some force acts on it, whether that force is energy from the cosmos or heat or something else. You would have to add energy in order to break it up. We're ignoring auto-ionization, by the way, which does happen in water, where water molecules are like naturally trading hydrogens with each other. Yeah,
sometimes you get like H3O, hydronium ions, you know.
Yeah, just for a little bit, and then it gives one up and gives it to its friend. Again, water molecules, if you learn one thing from this show, water is super poly. It's just the most
not
poly
picky.
That you can.
Super
it's
neutral.
They're just like,
whatever.
Yo, you want one hydrogen? I got you. And then you can give me your hydrogen. So we don't actually think stable elements decay because we've never seen it happen. And this is awesome because you know how we know that? Julian? I know you do. I can see your eyes that you know.
We've been looking for it real hard.
We have for a long time. Really in some of the coolest places in the world. So neutrons, by the way, they do decay. If you leave a neutron by itself, it's like in minutes. It's like, I gotta go. And electrons, they don't seem to decay, and protons don't seem to decay. So what we are looking at when we say we are looking, back in the 1970s, an experiment was constructed to see if protons decay. Do you know where that experiment was, Julian? Have you heard of this? It's not the one in Japan.
I know, not Super Kamiokan Day.
That one comes after. That one's much later. But yes, because there was a Kamiokan before that even. This is the first one, though, the first experiment to see if protons decay. And I did not know this, and it is in or near my home state.
It's really? Is it in like a big quarry somewhere? Some big underground mine or something that they filled with water?
You're smart. I love that. Oh, God, that's great. Okay.
That's usually how these things go, right? They're like, gosh, what's like shielded like place like that's not going to get interfered with from like cosmic radiation or anything like that?
Light pollution or like Wi-Fi. And
maybe we could find
radio.
A place that's like buried under a whole mountain, and meanwhile there's like an abandoned mine nearby, and they're like, yeah, that'll do. Like, it's usually how it goes.
So in this case, the University of California, Irvine, the University of Michigan, and the Brookhaven National Laboratory partnered, and they figured we could put a giant tank with 9.5 million liters, or about 2.5 million gallons of ultra pure water underneath Lake Erie in a mine, in an old salt mine. And they did exactly that. The tank was built in the 1970s, and the reason they used that much water is because they figured, based on the going theory at the time, a proton should decay about every 10 to the 31 years.
It's a long time.
That's a lot of years.
So if you have enough water, right, then your odds of seeing a proton decay within your lifetime, or the time of the experiment gets better. More water equals more likely to see proton decay, right?
Exactly, yes. And so they were like, cool, this is the number of protons that we would have in order to then see one in the year that we will be watching. They watched for longer than a year. They watched for, I think, 10 years, and they did not see a single proton decay. And the tank, by the way, is about the size of 2.5 Olympic swimming pools, or the Goodyear blimp, or 3 hot air balloons, or 9,500 hot tubs, or that's it. I didn't look up any other ones. Thank you, Blue Bulb Project. And again, built in a salt mine 600 meters or 2,000 feet under Lake Erie. So they filled that tank with 2,000 sensitive photodetectors that could see light flashing, even if it were only a few billionths of a second, which that light, of course, is Cherenkov radiation.
Super cool.
Which is what happens when an atom travels faster than a speed of light in a medium, which is pretty cool. Decays into energy, which is like a very pleasing blue color. But even if that happens at a proton level, one time in this giant 2.5 swimming pool tank, one of these 2,000 photodetectors would be able to see, again, a proton make just a teeny flash of light in a billionth of a second.
That is cool.
Man, that's cool.
I have a question. So, what are we thinking the proton would decay into?
I think just into energy.
Oh, okay. So just completely unravel, right? Because I mentioned earlier the beta decay and how you can have, as I understand it, like a proton that does undergo beta decay and gives off a positron. But I think that's different than what we're talking here, right? We're just...
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that would be like a hydrogen atom turning into energy or like into a positron, right? It would have... That is like a big atom that has for lack of a better understanding of it on my part, like more moving parts, and so is able to give that off without violating some kind of laws of physics. But I am not a physicist, so I do not know. So what they found in this pitch black salt mine over several years is no proton decay at all, which means that a proton could still decay, because science could still be a decay, could happen. We just didn't
don't have enough
enough
water, dang it.
We didn't have enough water, and we didn't look for long enough. So maybe instead of 10 to the 31, it's 10 to the 34 years. And so we have to look for long. By the way, 10 to the 34 years, I did look. It's 1 with 34 zeros. That's 10 decillion years. So if a billion is 2, right? This is decillion years. 714 sextillion times the age of the universe as we know it. So 714, if you had 1 kilogram of uranium at the Big Bang,
1 kilogram of protons,
or let's say 1 kilogram of just protons at the Big Bang, it would still be protons 714 sextillion universe ages later.
Gonna need more protons. Yeah, if you're going to see just one of those bad boys unravel,
it's going to happen. We just got to watch. So, by the way, the jump from 10 to the 31 to 10 to the 34, just for those who maybe numbers isn't their thing, that's 1,000 times
not 1,000 years longer,
than
1,000 times longer.
Times longer. So if numbers aren't your thing, now you are sitting agape, and I get it. So they did actually, funnily enough, this is a sidebar, total sidebar, unrelated to the onion. Funny thing, they did see something in this. They called it they had a really terrible name for it, so I'm just going to call it the Lake Erie Project. They did see something. Do you know what they saw?
Can I take a guess?
Yeah, guess, please. I love that.
Was it like a muon or not a neutrino? Was it a neutrino? Was it like a neutrino and like changing like forms as it traveled?
Firstly, good on you. It was a neutrino. It was they detected some neutrinos. Not at the time that it was in the data, but they went back and looked at it because they turned on the detector in 1982. A few years into the experiment in 1987, they still had not detected any proton decay, but they did see neutrinos. And neutrinos, for those who aren't unaware, are teeny tiny particles, smaller than protons, neutrons, and electrons. So if a proton were like the size of a car, a neutrino would be like the size of a pea. Like super tiny and fast
They're
moving.
in the same category as electrons, right? Because they have like, it's broken up based on spin and particle physics. I don't remember the specifics of it, but yeah, like they're in the same category. I think it's leptons. But neutrinos are cool because when we first like started finding them, we realized that we were finding about a third as many as we were like the physics would predict. And so somebody came up with this idea that they like interconvert between different types of neutrinos. There's the electron neutrino, which I think was the first that we found. And then there are like cousins of electrons called like tau and
muons.
Yeah, and we realized that the neutrino could also convert, and so there's like the electron neutrino, the tau neutrino.
Yeah, they refer to it. I would
neutrino.
just looked it up to remind myself, and they're like leptons are electrons, muons, and they're associated neutrinos.
Yes, and so they just change neutrinos as they travel along, just go between one and the other and the other. You know, they're just transitioning all the time, and that's why we realized when we started looking for the other two types, then we found all the neutrinos that we predicted because math is super cool and science predicts stuff.
Yeah, the math is like, hey, these should exist based on our math. And they're like, can we go look for them? And that's when they build a big tank and they end up looking for them. So the neat thing about this tank discovering this thing in 1987 was what they discovered is a few neutrinos from a supernova that had exploded 170,000 years before. Cool. They saw the supernova called 1987A. These astronomers were like, yo, supernova. And they're like, interesting. Now, you're seeing this. Did you see any neutrinos in your crazy tank under Lake Erie? And they went and like, enhance. And they were like, oh yeah, we did. We saw some neutrinos. And they're like, this is amazing because that means that supernovae and are considered the birth of neutrino astronomy. There's actually a plaque in a park on the surface of near the mine in Ohio where this is. I'm going to have to go see that plaque because that sounds awesome.
The only person making a pilgrimage to the birth of neutrino astronomy.
Yeah, super cool. So today we still do this, by the way. That one, was dismantled and I assume in that mine. But today, the Super Kamiokande in Japan is a supersized version of the Irvine, Michigan Brookhaven experiment, like I like to call the Lake Erie project because it sounds cooler. But that one's buried a kilometer underground with an outer cylinder and an inner cylinder. And then the inner cylinder is filled with water. And remember, it was 2,000 photomultiplier tubes before. This is 11,146. And then remember, before it was 2.5 Olympic swimming pools. This is 20 swimming pools. So 2 Lincoln Memorial reflecting pools, 3/5 of the Royal Albert Hall, 9 Goodyear blimps, or 20 hot air
and
balloons
a partridge in a... That's a lot of water. I think it's also positioned... This might be a different detector, but I think Super Kamiokande is also positioned so like... Because Japan uses a lot of nuclear energy. So like they've got... something from a reactor that's quite far away, but like pointed at it to shoot neutrinos at it through like layers and layers of rock. So
just to like see
taking
them.
advantage of like the fact that Japan's using nuclear energy to also do more science.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
That just reminds me of like when I went to CERN and they were using some of the like extra proton beam to power the antimatter factory because they're like, well, we're going to make the antimatter anyway. May as well use it for something.
I hope people...
Which is just great.
In my years of like reading up on what scientists are up to, my takeaway is always like, these people are super clever. And like, I know there's a lot of a push and like, oh, it's so wasteful and whatnot, but like the ways that they achieve some of these discoveries, the way they conduct these experiments... Sometimes it's like, wow, you guys were brilliant. You really used like what was just there anyway and like made a few tweaks and like a pretty limited budget and you did something awesome. It's a repeated feeling that I get when I read up on this stuff.
Yeah, and I like that you said use what's there because sometimes they also use what's not there. They're like, oh, this is missing. And thus, I can make a conjecture. It's just like they use what they have, I think, to your point, and then they also can like make inferences on other things because they can't run the experiment again all the time. If you like puzzles, Science and engineering and technology is just
That's right. I know you found this podcast because you love puzzles.
Yeah, you love
but
puzzles.
Consider liking science too.
Yeah, exactly. So they're still looking into proton decay. Right now, we consider proton decay to be 10 to the 34th, or again, 700 and some sextillion times the age of the universe. So we've never seen it, which means if you just left Benzi's onion there in a magic box with no bacteria in a sterile environment, at absolute zero, it might still be there because the protons would not have decayed after 714 universes. However, life is a fairly low entropy problem, but it does contain energy in the bonds of the chemicals inside of that onion. So what you would, even without bacteria and fungi acting on the onion, over time, the enzymes inside the onion are going to break down. They have basically it's entropy, essentially, which is pretty wild. I mean, the volatile chemicals are going to keep off-gassing. The enzymes are still working inside. The water is going to eventually evaporate or want to move to a lower energy state. And life is not the lowest energy state possible. So they want to get to a lower energy state. And if you think about it in terms of a time horizon of billions of years, you now have to contend not just with atomic decay. Now you're talking about also entropy. Do you have a concise definition of entropy, Julian? He's laughing because there is none.
I took a physics class last semester, and the last portion is on entropy. I have my notes somewhere if you want me to pull it up.
No, I don't want you.
There's a mathematical description of entropy.
There is.
And, from memory, what it basically boils down to is moving towards a state where less work is doable because there's less of an energy gradient between things.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great way to describe it. Most people in pop science would describe it as just chaos. And it's that's not right. Because that's not really what it means. It's not helpful
because a lot of people look at life, right, which looks so orderly, and they're like, how can this be? But you can mathematically show that everything you're doing all the time is increasing entropy, in other ways. The room, right, the classic, your bedroom gets more disordered, right? Well, if you put it all back, is that better? It's no, because you're using energy, right? You're converting it, and it's
to put it back.
In the heat. And so, if you're raising the temperature of your environment, there's less of a heat gradient, there's less of an ability to do work, that sort of thing. And so you're still, even though you're making your room more orderly, you're still increasing the net entropy of the universe in a way.
Right. You've burned energy that has now been turned into heat, and that heat is radiated out into the universe and never comes back, right? So you're contributing to the heat death of the universe by cleaning your room. So don't clean your room, kids. Just don't do it. You don't want to contribute to the heat death of the universe.
End of everything.
Never let my kid listen to this podcast.
Oh, sorry, Dad. You want the all usable energy to be gone? For everything to stop? In how many? I don't even remember how many years it was on a previous episode.
It's
it was
a lot. It's
10 to the 100 or something like that. No.
It's more than proton decay. Otherwise, we would have given up by now, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, contending with entropy, Ben, we've got time horizons of billions of years. Water molecules eventually going to break up, even though I said that they're just going to keep being water molecules. They're not. Eventually, they're going to just kind of break down because every atom above absolute zero is in motion. That motion means that it contains energy, and that energy eventually has to go somewhere. So larger molecules on, again, a time horizon of trillions of years or whatever, they're just going to break apart. In the same way that your DNA makes mistakes on replication, molecules vibrating, larger ones are just going to randomly break apart, which isn't a problem when you're thinking about your glass of water or an onion on your countertop. But if your countertop is there for a trillion years, eventually that chemistry of the enzymes, the sugars, the salts, and the entropy, your onion is not going to be an onion anymore. It's just going to eventually kind of just disappear into heat and base levels of matter, because it's hard to describe what it is, because it's not like there's research on what happens if you leave an onion in a box that's magic and can't decay for billions of years.
Dimension.
Like, we can guess, and what we guess is essentially that entropy will act on the onion until it is no longer molecularly an onion. It is just probably some kind of dark colored sludge.
It's gone on to other things. The onion's moved past this phase of its existence.
Yeah. Again, if you put it at absolute zero, it would last longer as an onion, because atomic motion would be less. The enzymes and salts and sugars wouldn't be acting and oxidizing anything. The water wouldn't be self-ionizing. But in order to maintain absolute zero, you'd have to be putting energy into the system to keep it cool.
Or like,
and remove heat
using
from the
energy
system.
to take energy out of this system.
So you're using energy to take it out. So again, you're going to contend with entropy in the long run. And let's say you've somehow found a 0-point energy source that comes from another dimension or something. Then it's just an onion in a box in the fully heat-deathed universe with a air conditioner on the
thing
side.
that survived. Humanity's message to the future. This onion in a black lead box.
And then that's it. That's just the end of the universe with a very, very cold, solid, no atomic motion onion.
Interdimensional travelers finding it and being like, what does it mean? What could it... Why? What is it?
They turn off the air conditioner.
Oh, I'm crying now.
They take the onion out. Then they
slice it to figure out what's
Ew! And they throw it out into the universe, and that's it.
Some sort of chemical weapon from this dimension. It's irritating.
Never come to this dimension again.
It's irritating my 200 eyes. I assume that they have, these interdimensional beings.
Totally, yeah. So maybe Shrek was right. I
was waiting for the Shrek reference. We had to get to a Shrek reference about onions.
Onions
This
have
answer
layers.
had layers. Yeah.
Onions have layers. Ogres have layers.
What about parfaits? How long until a parfait is an onion?
I mean, there's a lot more water, I feel like, in parfait, and a lot more sugar. We could just do this whole thing again, but we'd still end up at absolute zero food stuff in a heat-dead universe, which is also kind of cool, because it just means, like, nothing lasts forever. Even if it's super stable, nothing.
Wow. So deep.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate. This show was written, hosted, and produced by Trace the Onion Dominguez.
And Julian the Tortoise Huguet.
Yep.
Today's show was also produced and edited by the wonderful and, well, I mean, if anything's going to outlast the heat death of the universe, it's going to be Kyle Sisk.
He is eternal.
This show was associate produced by Sabrina Capello, and our music is thanks to Epidemic Sound.
Thanks to listeners who submitted questions featured in this episode, our Patreon poll winner, Nick, and of course, Bynzyldyhydeditoximonothaixyprophine. Hey!
Nailed it!
First try. Let's go. Thank you for submitting your silly questions. We appreciate it. It makes the whole show possible. And, I like making the show, and apparently you like listening, so keep submitting them if you would like both those things to continue. If you would like to submit questions, you can look for the form down in our show notes. You can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com, or you can visit our website, that'sabsurdshow.com/ask, or you can call us at 302-TAPESHO. It's just still relevant, right? That's relevant.
Yeah, I think it's relevant. It's like a little 2025. We'll find another song in 2026.
It's so back
we'll get
there. But anyway.
We'll get there. Turns out we got the intro perfect, but we really messed up the outro. So good
no
job,
promises
everybody.
on that. We will never figure that out. The onion will decay into sludge first.
Thank you very much to all our absurd administrators. They are our patrons who are at our highest level: Adam, Les, Austin, Jonathan, Dan, Sabrina the Brain, Hannah, Apothecarian, Christina, and Atomic Straw. Thank you for supporting the show and keeping the show going. And also thank you to our newest Patreon subscriber, Patrick. Welcome to the party, pal.
Thanks, Patrick. Because of support of our Patreons, we get to do fun stuff like live show, or, the equipment to actually run live shows, and you get to vote on questions and chit-chat with me. I'm over there trying to, manage the whole thing, and it's fun. It's real nice. There's lots of lovely people. Oh, and you get to play bingo. That's where our exclusive bingo cards are. And this week, no winners. Nobody.
We
nobody
didn't say I love your brain. Does that count if I say it in the outro?
Do it. Let me see.
I do love your brain.
Let's see. For Swamp Goat, we could have you mentioned Star Trek.
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's a shame. Or what about?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, I love your brain. Wow, that'll tick off Tessa's when she gets to this.
Great, good job.
Yeah. Congrats,
Yay!
Tessa, on your future completed tape bingo card.
Which would, I guess, be very Star Trek of us to know the future,
But you honestly, we're violating the Prime Directive here. We're like interfering with the bingo game.
What I need to mention.
Yeah. And if I have one gripe time, it's when people violate the Prime Directive. There, you're welcome, Tangle. Okay.
If you want to see clips from the show, you can find us on Instagram, That's Absurd Show on Instagram, or on YouTube at That's Absurd Show as well, where you can listen to episodes of the show or see our weird faces when we talk about stuff. And we do post all sorts of little shorts and things on our social media. So come and find us, follow us, and tell your friends about the show as well. It's an easy way to share a clip or a short with your buddies or your pallies or your girlies or your group texts or your Discords or your Slacks at work, because we are work friendly.
Yeah.
And yeah, you would get the picture if I sent it to you, which you would do from my social media. So thank you so much for following us and for sharing and for liking. It was really great. It was really great to see you all on the socials. And a special thanks also to those listening on Nebula. By listening, Nebula people are just supporting the show, just by listening to the show. So we really appreciate that. And it also supports other independent creators if you join Nebula. So if you want to see more information on that, go to go.nebula.tv/That's Absurd Show. Try it out. See what you think. It's real great. I like it. But what do we say at the end of every show, Julian?
I'd like to thank my family.
I'm so happy that the tortoise came back.
Mother just turned 105 last week. And ladies, she's single.
I guess he's got a gay tortoise mom. I wasn't really sure where I was going.
Yeah,
love that for that tortoise. Love that for that tortoise finding love later in life. Hare, real tough loss today. You were heavily favored going into this matchup. How did this one get away from you?
Well, I was really excited about it when I got started, but then all of a sudden, you want to go ride bikes?
There you go. I have to mention, by the way, I had another study. This is my, how my Christmas present to myself was doing an airplane thing?
Yeah.
I found a study, or at least an article published in Nature titled, "The Fastest Animals and Vehicles Are Neither the Biggest Nor the Fastest Over a Lifetime." And it said that over an average lifetime, if you total speed, right? Not just like when they're actually running, but like how long they take to rest and whatnot. More massive animals tend to be faster, averaged out.
No.
And then
they
compared it.
Kyle, run the music, Kyle. End of the show, Kyle.
And I didn't bring it up.
Stop it.
As a present to everybody. You're welcome. But now we can get into it.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.